this video, we are going to paint a little bit together with the Fender Precision Bass, also known as the P-Bass. This is one of my favorite basses of all time. It goes all the way back to Elvis Presley. The first time I recall hearing it and sort of looked it up was Jailhouse Rock, that has a very punchy bass. And punchy is probably the right word for the P-Bass. It's a very colorful, saturated kind of bass. We actually recorded in a specific way, so we got a little more attitude out of it. This is not your sort of standard flat bass. It's a bass specifically designed to just work directly in the music, so you don't have to do anything else. It's amplified, it's saturated in the right way. It's been marinating in gorgeous analog gear, and it just works. It's awesome for pop, rock, hip hop, R&B, that kind of style, funk for sure as well. So I thought it could be cool today just to take this P-Bass on a little journey. I'm gonna play with some of the programs. You can see the browser over here. We have all these different programs. But I also thought it could be cool to paint a little bit together, build something from scratch. Soundpaint for me is all about shortening the distance from our thoughts to our creations. I've sort of gotten a little bit tired of software being super complicated, and I just want to have fun. So that's the essence of it. Think about it as a video game for music or something. You know, there is something magical about certain instruments as they stand the test of time. 7 decades is a long time for an electric bass to make it. So dating all the way back to Elvis, as I mentioned, but also forward in time to Sting, Elvis Costello, Foo Fighters, Beastie Boys, even the Beach Boys used it as well. There are just so many things you can do with this bass, and it's so colorful, and we're just gonna have some fun. So let's go into Soundpaint together. Over here in the browser, you can see all the different programs. I've added some hearts to it. If you ever like something in Soundpaint, just click the little heart up here, and you can see it pops up here in the browser, and that way you can always quickly find it. You can also sort by hearts as well, so you can always find your favorite patches that way. Let's try to play here with the finger sustain to start with. Even that growl on the low note. And you know, it also has a sweet, funky sort of vibe to it. Do you remember that Larry Graham track? There's an awesome video on YouTube where he plays with Prince. That's sort of the P-Bass in a more funky state, but you can also play it super softly. And speaking of softness, I think the P-Bass has just a crazy, crazy beautiful harmonic. Let me just play it for you here. This is where you have an instrument with a lot of attitude, but it's all of a sudden gets that sort of more soulful kind of sound to it. It's so pretty. And it's beautiful with Soundpaint because things can be so high or deep. There's no limitation of the range of instruments, so you can play all the way up, or we can go even deeper if you want. I sometimes think that the natural acoustic range of an instrument is beautiful, but it's so cool when you play a piano or a bass, for example, that you can play an octave below or an octave higher of the normal instrument range. And when you have infinite dynamics and virtually no issues with repetition notes and all that, when it just works, it makes it a lot more nimble, which is why it's so easy to play this one in a sort of expressive way. But there's a lot of articulations in the P-bass. If we take a look here in the parts browser, I'll go into bass here and find the P-bass. You can see that there is multiple articulations here. We have drops. And with a sort of slap note, we have muted staccatos. That's just to show you how quickly you can find the instrument and build something as well. There's a loud car out there. I don't know about you guys, but what is it about certain people like needing to drive in very loud cars, very loud, like bikes as well? Like everything is shaking, and I assume certain body parts in them as well must be shaking as well. Is that pleasant? I'm not sure. Maybe I should make the equivalent of a loud car right now. You want to try? All right, let's just take an articulation here. Let's take pick sustains. That's got a good attitude. Let's add a little bit of a distortion to it here. We have 12 different weapons of destruction here. So that one was nasty here. Sometimes it can be a little bit too much. So in this case here, let me just assign the mix of the distortion to my mod wheel. And the way you do that is that you right click on your mouse and you choose Add MIDI CC Automation. And then you click and then you move whatever controller you want. I like to use my mod wheel, and if you notice in Soundpaint, everything is on the mod wheel. There's always something on the mod wheel. It's a beautiful lesson that John Lemkool, the plugin guru, taught me many years ago, that the mod wheel should always do something. Pretty logical, right? So let's see what happens now that I have associated the mod wheel to the distortion mix. All right, let's go back to the programs and paint a little more with some of the presets here. This next articulation is one of my favorites. It's a picked mute. So on the P bass, we both played it fingered with picks and muted sounds as well. This one is great if you want to have that more sort of percussive, articulated quality in the instrument. These are awesome. If you ever want that sort of Zimmer-esque Mission Impossible vibe, let me just put that in the arpeggiator. Let's see what happens here. Let's make it twice as fast. One of the things I love, and you can see I sort of get inspired when I do this as well, this particular delay here, you can hear it. But the beautiful thing is that it's an analog model. So when you move, and again, I'm gonna associate my mod wheel to the MIDI CC here. When you move the delay time here, and this is where you can hear it's a true model. You can sort of hear the tape glide around and have fun with the note. Let me just play another articulation here. Let's go into the main pick here. So that would be not this short percussive version, but just a full pick sustain. We also have this cool articulation where we're reversing it. So you can see up here, there's one articulation, or we call them parts. And then there's another part over here that has this little reverse sign on it. This is called sound mode in Soundpaint. If you ever want to reverse a sound, you essentially click here and you click reverse here, and then you can reverse the sound. But in this patch here, we have both things going on. So one playing forward in time and the other one playing backwards. Another cool trick in the engine as well, if you want to paint more elaborately, is that you can go from muted notes, short staccato notes, into sustains as well. For example, like this, you're going to see me have the mod wheel down here. That's the sort of percussive note. And as I move the mod wheel up, you get more of that sustain in it. So you can choose what you want. So for example, if you want to really get that, that's sort of cool for that kind of style. But if you want to have a little more sustain, you dial it up a little bit here. It's such sweet. I just love playing this one here. That one is easy. Let's try the other one again. Something like that. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing. We can also go from a muted sound to a picked. Sort of same fashion again, but a little bit of a different percussive vibe. You can hear it's a little bit less growly than the other one if we were comparing them. That one has a growl. This one is a little more clean. Let me try the same thing again. Peter Dyer, who I love and adore, also made this beautiful sort of more stacked patch here. When you see these sort of signatures here behind the patches, it's who made it. So PD is Peter Dyer. Let me show you one more thing here. I'm going to go back to our harmonics here, and this time you're going to see that we added this beautiful vintage chorus to it. It gives a little bit of a different vibe to it. You can paint differently. Check how deep that bass is, fat and beautiful. That's the advantage of being able to go below the octaves, and the way Soundpaint detects bass notes is very proprietary and unique to the engine. It super enhances basses and it really makes things brighter in the top as well. There's so many little beautiful Soundpainty things down there. But I have an idea. Why don't we try to just make some new Soundpaint all from the ground up? You know, this is all about unique expression. I have one way of doing it. You're going to have your own way of doing it. And most importantly, it's super easy to do. That's what Soundpaint is about. So let me just clean it up here. If you go up to the right corner here and you click the X sign, it's all clean. We can start over. We can say bass, start over. Maybe that's not the best bass patch. We'll call it the bass patch, and then we'll figure out whatever that means. So I'm going to click here on the parts browser, and then you can see the directory here with the different parts. As you know, in Soundpaint, we have programs which are these sort of more elaborate things with effects and different parts, and a program is made from parts. So right now we're going to just add a part. Let's take this harmonic because I love it so much. Let's add perhaps a really big shimmer effect to it. You can hear we have this pitch shift on the shimmer. I'm going to take it down to its normal octave here. I'm going to narrow the reverb a little bit. You can choose the size of the reverb when you click size down here.